Also happening today, as we've mentioned, a pivotal week in D.C. for President Biden. He's going to address NATO during a summit marking the group's 75th anniversary. This summit planned to secure military support for Ukraine, now a test for the president's abilities as he fights to win re-election in the fall. The war in Ukraine will still be in the spotlight during this week's meetings as NATO looks to declare Kyiv's pathway to membership irreversible. NATO allies also expected to discuss the threat posed by China and its increasingly close ties with other authoritarian regimes around the world. For more, we are joined by retired Army General Wesley Clark, who was a NATO Supreme Allied Commander. General, I am grateful that you joined us this morning. I am grateful to get your perspective on all of this. I wanted to ask you first about the concern from NATO members about U.S. stability. What are the concerns today, and what are they hoping to hear this week?
Well, they are concerned because the United States is the foundation and the leading member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And what they want to see is a vigorous President Biden, and they want to see the end of this muttering between Democrats and calls for him to be replaced on the ticket and so forth. They want to see strong American leadership. They also want to see strong support from the Republicans in Congress, in the Senate, for the continuation of assistance to Ukraine. Our European allies they're concerned that the United States is sort of turning its back on Europe. At least that's the undertone of some of the Americans who've spoken to Europeans. It's like, well, we have to focus on China. You all have to do more for yourselves and so forth. And the truth is the two theaters, Europe and Asia, are totally interconnected. Russia and China are working together. So let's hope that we get strong support for NATO and the Europeans from both political sides of the aisle today.
Is there a concern on your part that American politics are going to overshadow those important conversations?
Well, I think there is concern about the American politics, and particularly about President Trump's attitude toward NATO. And in his last debate on the 27th of June, he expressed what seemed like sympathy for Putin's dream to overrun Ukraine. Now, how an American leader, and President Trump is an American leader, how he could express sympathy for a plan to conquer 40 million people with rape, murder, invasion, torture, abduction of children is beyond belief. But it really is concerning to our European allies. But it's up to the Republicans in Congress and the Senate especially to assure our European allies that really 75% or more of Americans support Ukraine and will continue to support Ukraine.
Are our NATO allies more concerned about Biden's age or a second Trump presidency?
Well, I think they'll be very happy with President Biden and what he says. Some of them would like him to be more forward-leaning on support for Ukraine and strengthening our defenses in Europe. But the American administration has done pretty well on this, and Ukraine's still there despite the horrific punishment it's taking from Russia. There are going to be some important initiatives announced at the summit. Sweden and Finland are new members. There's going to be a 10-year security pact for assurances for Ukraine. So I think they feel pretty good about that if President Biden stays in office. On the other hand, President Trump's given all the wrong signals. And it's as though he's sort of opening a door for Putin to pick off the members of the alliance one at a time. And when Viktor Orban went to Moscow this week and then on to China, very bad sign for Europe as a whole.
Concerns, no doubt. As you mentioned, I was reading this article preparing for this. You said NATO members very concerned over U.S. stability. A lot to watch as all of these conversations play out this week. General Wesley Clark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.